All organizations are concerned with what should be done to achieve sustained high levels of performance through people. I'm Joanna Chris Alarde, and we will be discussing motivation, engagement, and commitment under organizational behavior, Part 4 of Advanced Human Resource Management. So just to give us an overview of the topics, here in motivation, we will discuss the process of motivation, its types, and the various theories of motivation which explains and amplify the basic process, Herzberg two-factor model, and the motivation strategies. And for the engagement and commitment, we have the concepts, organizational commitment and engagement. So again, all organizations are concerned with what should be done to achieve sustained high levels of performance through people. This means giving close attention to how individuals can best be motivated through such means as incentives, rewards, leadership, and importantly, the work they do and the organization context within which they carry out work. The aim is to develop motivation processes and the work environment that will help us to ensure that individuals deliver results in accordance with the expectations of management. What is motivation? It comes from the word motive, or a reason for doing something. Motivation is concerned with the factors that influence people to behave in certain ways. The three components of motivation as listed by Arnold et al. Are direction, effort, and persistence. First, the direction, or what a person is trying to do. Second is effort, or how hard a person is trying. And lastly, the persistence, or how long a person keeps on trying. Motivating other people is about getting them to move in the direction you want them to go in order to achieve a result. Motivating yourself is about setting the direction independently and then taking a course of action which will ensure that you will get there. Motivation can be also described as goal-directed behavior, which people are motivated when they expect that a course of action is likely to lead to the attainment of a goal and a valued reward, or the one that satisfies their needs. Now we move on to the process of motivation. In this figure, you will see the need, the established goal, take action, and then attain goal. Needs create wants, which are desires to achieve or obtain something. Goals are then established, which it is believed that will satisfy these needs and wants. So if the goal is achieved, the need will be satisfied and the behavior is likely to be repeated. If the goal naman is not achieved, the same action is less likely to be repeated. This process of repeating successful behavior or actions is called reinforcement, or the law of effect. It has, however, been criticized by Allport on 1954 as ignoring the influence of expectations and therefore constituting hedonism of the past. So there are two types of motivation as originally identified by Herzberg et al. On 1957. These are intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. In comparing the two types of motivation, intrinsic motivation is the self-generated factors that influence people to behave in a particular way or to move in a particular direction. These factors include responsibility, or feeling that the work is important, and having control over one's own resources. Autonomy, or the freedom of act, scope to use and develop skills and abilities, interesting and challenging work, and opportunities for advancement. The other one is extrinsic motivation, or what is done to or for people to motivate them. This includes rewards such as increased pay, praise or promotion, and punishments, such as disciplinary action, withholding pay, or criticism. These motivators can have an immediate and powerful effect, but it will not necessarily last long. Now we move on to the motivation theories, wherein we examine the process of motivation, then explains why people at work behave in the way they do in terms of their efforts and the directions they are taking, describes what organizations can do to encourage people to apply their efforts and abilities in ways that will further the achievement of organizations' goals as well as satisfying their own needs. The most influential theories are classified as follows. First is the instrumentality theory, which states that rewards or punishments serve as the means of ensuring that people behave or act in desired ways. Next is content theory, which focuses on the content of motivation and states that motivation is essentially about taking action to satisfy needs and identifies the main needs that influence behavior. Needs theory was originated by Maslow, and in the two-factor model, Herzberg et al. Listed needs which they term satisfiers. Process theory, which focuses on psychological processes which affect motivation by reference to expectations, goals, and perceptions of equity. First in the theories is instrumentality theory, which instrumentality is the belief that we do one thing, it will lead to another. It is the crudest form. Instrumentality theory states that people only work for money. This emerged in the second half of 19th century with its emphasis on the need to rationalize work and on economic outcomes. It assumes that a person will be motivated to work if rewards and penalties are tied directly to his or her performance. Thus, the awards are contingent upon effective performance. It is also rooted from Taylorism in Scientific Methods of F.W. Taylor, who wrote, "It is impossible through any long period of time to get workmen to work much harder than the average men around them unless they are assured a large and permanent increase in their pay." This theory is based on the principle of reinforcement as influenced by Skinner's 1974 concept of conditioning, the theory that people can be conditioned to act in certain ways if they are rewarded for behaving as required. It is also called the law of effect. Next is content or needs theory. So the basis of this theory is the belief that the content of motivation consists of needs. Not all needs are equally important for a person at any one time. Some may provide a much more powerful drive towards a goal than others, depending on the individual's background and present situation. A good example for this is a new car provides transport that is a need, as well as the opportunity to impress the neighbors. Needs theory was developed originally by Maslow in 1954, who postulated the concept of hierarchy of needs, which he believed were fundamental to the personality. And it focuses attention on the various needs that motivate people and the notion that a satisfied need is no longer a motivator. So in the slide shows the hierarchy of needs by Maslow, which comprising of the 5-tier model of human needs. First is physiological needs, or the basic needs for oxygen, food, water, reproduction, air, shelter, and clothing. These are all vital to our survival. Second is safety needs, or the need for protection against danger and deprivation. These also includes financial safety, health, and wellness. Third is social needs, wherein a need for love, affection, and acceptance. These also includes friendship, romantic attachment, family, social groups, and community groups. Fourth level is self-esteem, or the need to have a high value of oneself, appreciation, and respect. People have a need to accomplish these things in their life and then have their efforts recognized. Examples are professional activities, academic accomplishments, athletic team, athletic and team participation. Fifth is self-fulfillment or self-actualization. At the very peak of Maslow's hierarchy is the need to develop potentialities, skills, and self-growth. In process theory, the emphasis is on the psychological processes or forces that affects motivation as well on basic needs. It is also known as cognitive theory because it is concerned with people's perception of their working environment. It is also said that process or cognitive theory can certainly be more useful to managers than needs theory because it provides more realistic guidance on motivation techniques. The processes are expectation or the expectancy theory, goal achievement or the goal theory, and feelings about equity or equity theory. So let's now elaborate these three processes. The concept of expectancy was originally contained in the valency instrumentality expectancy theory or the VIE theory. Valency stands for value. Instrumentality is the belief that if we do one thing, it will lead to another. And expectancy is the probability that action or effort will lead to an outcome. It is influenced by the perceived link between effort and performance, perceived link between performance and outcomes, the significance of outcome to the person. It was developed by Porter and Lawler on 1968 into a model which follows Bloom's ideas by suggesting that there are two factors determining the effort people put into their jobs. The value of rewards to individuals insofar as they satisfy their needs for security, social esteem, autonomy, and self-actualization. Next is the probability that rewards depend on effort as perceived by individuals, in other words, their expectations about the relationships between effort and rewards. So it is said that the greater the value of a set of rewards and the higher the probability that receiving each of these rewards depends upon effort, the greater the effort that will be put forth in a given situation. But as Porter and Lawler emphasize, mere effort is not enough. It has to be effective effort if it is to produce the desired performance. The two variables additional to effort which affect task achievement are ability and role perceptions, wherein the ability is the individual characteristics such as intelligence, manual skills, and know-how, and role perceptions is what the individual wants to do or thinks he or she is required to do. These are good from the viewpoint of the organization if they correspond with what it thinks the individual ought to be doing. They are poor if the views of the individual and the organization do not coincide. So, this is the motivation model by Porter and Lawler, which value of rewards and probability that rewards depend upon effort leads to effort, and with the additional variable, abilities and role expectations leads to successful performance. Next is the goal theory, as developed by Latham and Locke on 1979, states that motivation and performance are higher when individuals are set specific goals, when goals are difficult but accepted, and when there is a feedback on performance. Erez and Zidon on 1984 emphasized the need for acceptance of and commitment to goals. They found out that as long as they agreed, demanding goals lead to better performance than easy ones. Erez also emphasized the importance of feedback. Goal theory, however, plays a key part in the performance management process, which was evolved from the largely discredited management by objectives approach. Now we move on to equity theory. This is concerned with how people are being treated compared with others. Equity involves feelings and perceptions and is always a comparative process. Equity theory states in effect that people will be better motivated if they are treated fairly and demotivated if they are treated unfairly. It explains only one aspect of the process of motivation and satisfaction, although it may be significant in terms of morale. Then there are two forms of equity. First is the distributive equity, which is concerned with the fairness with which people feel they are rewarded in accordance with their contribution and in comparison with others. Second is the procedural equity, which is concerned with the perception of employees have about the fairness with which procedures in such areas as performance appraisal, promotion, and discipline are being operated. Now we go to Herzberg's two-factor theory. In 1959, American psychologist Frederick Irving Herzberg penned two-factor theory. It states that there are certain factors that a business could introduce that would directly motivate employees to work harder at the workplace. The two factors are hygiene factors and motivational factors. Hygiene factors motivates employees in their work. The absence of hygiene factors will cause employees to work less hard. Hygiene factors are not present in the actual job itself but surround the job. Motivational factors. So the typical hygiene factors are working conditions. These are equipment and working environment should be safe. It must be fit for purpose and hygienic. Next is quality of supervision. The supervision must be fair and appropriate. The employee should be given as much autonomy as is reasonable. And next is salary. The salary or the pay structure should be fair and reasonable also. It should also be competitive with other organizations in the same industry. For the status, the organization should maintain the status of all employees within the organization, performing meaningful work that can provide a sense of status. Next is security. It is important that the employees feel that their job is secure and they are not under the constant threat of being laid off. Next is company policies and administrations. This should be fair and clear to every employee that they must also be equivalent to those of competitors. And then interpersonal relations. There should be no tolerance for bullying, and healthy and appropriate relationships should exist between peers, superiors, and subordinates. Next, for the typical motivator Motivational factors are achievement. So a job must give an employee a sense of achievement. This will provide a proud feeling of having something difficult but worthwhile. Next is recognition for achievement. So a job must provide an employee with praise and recognition of their successes. This recognition should come from both their superiors and peers. Responsibility for the task. So employees should own their work. They should hold themselves responsible for this completion and not feel as though they are not being micromanaged. Interest in the job and advancement to higher level tasks. Advancement, this is the promotion opportunities should be exist for the employee. And lastly, growth. The job should give employees the opportunity to learn new skills. Um, this can happen either on the job or through more formal training. So, pakita ko lang yung magiging outcome if this Herzberg's theory applied to a company. There will be better employee retention, quality work and performance. So, better productivity and boosting the bottom line. So, just for the summary of motivation theories. We tackled earlier the instrumentality by F.W. Taylor, content or needs theory by Maslow with the hierarchy of needs, the two-factor model with the motivating factors and hygiene factors by Herzberg, the process and cognitive theory with expectancy theory by Bloom, Porter, and Lawler, with the goal theory, Latham, and Locke, and equity theory by Adams. In factors affecting motivation strategies, the complexity of the process of motivation means that simplistic approaches based on instrumentality theory are unlikely to be successful. People are more likely to be motivated if they work in an environment in which they are valued for what they are and what they do. The need for work, which provides people with means to achieve their goals, a reasonable degree of autonomy, and the scope for the use of skills and competencies should be recognized. And the need for the opportunity to grow by developing abilities and careers, the cultural environment of the organization in the shape of its values and norms will influence the impact of any attempts to motivate people by direct or indirect means. And motivation will be enhanced by leadership which sets the direction, encourages and stimulates achievement, and provides support to employees in their efforts to reach goals and improve their performance generally. The next topic is organizational commitment and engagement. They are important because independently or in association with one another, they can significantly affect organizational performance, but there is some confusion about their respective meanings. So to know about the concepts of commitment and engagement, we have here the Oxford English Dictionary definition that states that someone is committed when they are morally dedicated, while someone is engaged when they are employed busily. So, commitment and engagement are closely related concepts. In fact, some people use the terms interchangeably or refer to engagement as an alternative, a more up-to-date, and maybe a more sophisticated term for commitment. As for the definition of organizational commitment as defined by Porter et al. On 1974, commitment refers to attachment and loyalty. It is the relative strength of individuals' identification with and involvement in a particular organization. Okay. For the meaning of engagement, as defined by Schumento on 2004, engagement is a positive, a two-way relationship between an employee and their organization. Both parties are aware of their own and the other's needs, and the way they support each other to fulfill those needs. So to know more about organizational commitment, this refers to the organization or bond employees have with their employer or the organization. The level of organizational commitment can help predict employee engagement and satisfaction, performance, and distribution of leadership. Also, committed employees display more positive behavior, more determination and motivation, and are less likely to fall in sick. This is likely to lead to an increase in productivity, engagement, commitment, and morale, and will increase the employee's chances of staying with that organization for a longer period. So what is the difference between organizational commitment and employee engagement? The term employee engagement is often confused with employee commitment, but there is one crucial difference. An engaged employee will not automatically be a committed employee. Similarly, a committed employee will not always be an engaged one. Engagement refers to how happy an employee is in their job, while commitment refers to how much effort an employee puts into their job. So, ano yung mas important sa kanilang dalawa? So, yun. Pareha silang important. Kasi, the best thing any organization can do is strive for a more delicate balance between both engagement and commitment. How commitment affects organizational development. Organizational development is a process that centers on developing and improving various strategies, structures, and operations within an organization, which increases its capacity to change and be more effective. It usually aims to increase profits or profit margins, customer satisfaction, cultural values, adaptability or agility, and market share. It is to improve an organization's effectiveness and its ability to compete in its industry. To be more effective, a company must have committed and engaged employees. In this slide shown the types of organizational commitment, and the figure is the three-component model of commitment. This model explains that commitment to an organization is a psychological state and that it has three distinct components that affect how employees feel about the organization that they work for. So first is the affective commitment or the affection for your organization. This occurs when you feel a strong emotional attachment to your organization and to the work that you do. Incontinuous commitment or the fear of loss occurs when you weigh up the pros and cons of leaving your organization. And innormative commitment or sense of obligation to stay occurs when you feel a sense of obligation to your organization, even if you're unhappy in your role and even if you want to pursue better opportunities. Then why is organizational commitment important? Organizational commitment, especially effective commitment, has multiple benefits for both employees and their organizations. First, employee productivity. This is when an employee is committed to their organization. They believe in the company's shared goals. vision, and mission, which in turn leads to them being more motivated and therefore more productive. Improve organizational performance. This is when an employee is heavily invested in an organization. They are increasingly likely to be cooperative, immerse themselves in collaboration and working within teams. And once again, this boosts the team's morale and productivity. Employee advocacy. This is when a committed employee is more likely to advocate for their organization because they believe in the larger vision. Lower absenteeism. This is when an employee is committed. They are much less likely to call in sick than their coworkers. This is because they are more likely to enjoy coming to work, completing tasks, achieving goals, and being a valued team member. Lastly, decrease turnover. So this is when an employee reaches the stage where they identify with the organization's goals and values. They are far less likely to consider leaving their job, even when they experience inevitable periods of job dissatisfaction. The factors influences organizational commitment are job satisfaction that refers to how much an employee enjoys their work, managerial support, a higher amount of leadership support and cohesion led to an increase in organizational commitment, role stress and role ambiguity. This is when an employee receives conflicting requests from managers or experiences a lack of information to complete a task, and this is more likely to cause role stress. Empowerment. This refers to motivating and energizing employees towards achieving goals, enhancing self-efficacy by reducing powerlessness and increasing motivation and commitment. And job insecurity and employability. Job insecurity negatively correlates with job satisfaction and effective organizational commitment. And when an employee believes their job is secure for the long term, they are more likely to become invested in their role and the organization. What is engagement? Engagement takes place when people are committed to their work. Job engagement naman can exist even when individuals are not committed to the organization, except insofar that it gives them the opportunity and scope to perform and to develop their skills and potential. Enhancing job engagement starts with job design or role development. This will focus on the provision of interest and challenge. That is a degree to which the work is interesting in itself and creates demanding goals to people. Variety, where the extent to which the activities in the job call for a selection of skills and abilities. Autonomy, the freedom and independence the job holder has. Task identity, or the degree to which the job requires completion of a whole and identifiable piece of work. And task significance, where the extent to which the job contributes to a significant end result and has a substantial impact on the lives and work of other people. Now, we go to the Hay Group model of engaged performance. The engaged performance model is Hay Group's trademark approach to total reward design. Hay Group defines engaged performance as a result that is achieved by stimulating employees' enthusiasm for their work and directing it toward organizational success. First, we have the inspiration or values. Under it, we have the reputation of organization, organizational values and behaviors, quality of leadership, risk sharing, recognition, communication. Second, the quality of work, where is the perception of the value of work, challenge or interest, opportunities for achievement, freedom and autonomy, workload, quality of work relationship. Third is enabling environment, physical environment, tools and equipment, job training, information and success, safety or personal security. Fourth is tangible rewards, competitive pay, good benefits, incentives for higher performance, ownership, potential, recognition, fairness of reward. Fifth is work-life balance, a supportive environment, recognition of life cycle needs or flexibility, security of income, and social support. Lastly, in the Hay Group model of engaged performance is future growth or opportunity, wherein there is learning and development beyond current job, career advancement opportunities, and performance improve and feedback. So that ends my report. Thank you for listening. And the next topic is how organizations function and organizational culture. Also, part 4 in organizational behavior in advanced human resource management. The next reporter will be Angelica Federiquito. So thank you guys and thank you team.